Okay, people. So here's the pond. You can see. What'd you do? Get an icicle? It's an icicle, eh? Look at that, people.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh my! Look at that! Look at that long piece sticking out, icicle. Yeah. Why? Oh, it's going on the leaves. Oh my! Isn't that just the most loveliest little pond you've ever seen? Hey?
Now wait. Look what I found right here.
Watch, you don't want to fall in there.
Look at them.
More icicles, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're different. See, you know,
Yeah.
like crystal.
So I cleaned this when in the summertime, the one time, and it's been holding up so nice. Look how clear it is, people.
Very clear, right?
Very nice and clear. It's beautiful. It's too bad we can't have fish in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, you know, raccoons eat it, eh? Yeah. Okay, come on, let's go.
Sorry.
Stand back.
Hey.
We're just doing it from this angle here. Hey? It's another picture moment. Okay, people. I know, it doesn't look like anything's changed, has it? Actually, it really hasn't, because I'm just like, what I'm doing now, people, is I am doing the amendment for CIBC Bank based on what Masters Taylor asked me to do when I did the 20 pages, right? I did the 20 pages, although the court didn't acknowledge it. It was just a private matter. It was just something that the Masters asked me to do for him. So in other words, when we went to court and he asked the lawyer for, Fraser Health Authority what this was and if it meant anything in terms of legality, and the lawyer said, no, it was just something that the Masters asked for her to do. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It works, right? So I think that judge, when he looked at it, he probably thought, that's not a bad thing. So anyway, I'm doing this amendment in the same kind of way. Only I think when I submit it, I'll do it maybe under an affidavit or something versus trying to stuff it in with the amendment, because, the last time that happened, I almost got arrested. So anyway, I'm reading this stuff as I'm going through it, drawing my lines as if I was a teacher. Because when I go to and I do my what do you call that? My appeal, I'm putting this in at the same time, right? Because it's time to, I need to get on with my life, people, right? My grandson needs me, and it would be nice to be able to go see Uncle John and bring him home if he wants to come home. I'm willing to go that mile if he wants to come home, but he's not going to come home until this stuff gets done, right? And so anyway, I'm just going to read the convoluted bullshit that I've been going through ever since Uncle John first stepped into those, through those doors at the Surrey Memorial Hospital, right? Okay, and I'm going to take it from number 53 on this amendment. I think 53 will probably be good. Okay, management at CIBC Bank would not provide. Again, I'm tired, people. It's like 1:30 in the morning here, right? I think it's the 23rd, I think. Would not provide an official photocopy of the second enduring power of attorney that was signed on October 19, 2001, in Surrey, BC by Mr. John Duncan and Judy Chorney at the request of CIBC Bank at that time. Because what was happening is they kept saying there was 2 power of attorneys and they wouldn't give me photocopies of anything. I never got they just tried to completely shut me out, like as if I was just some homeless person on the streets that was a piece of garbage. Seriously, that's how that bank fucking treated me, right? They treated me just as bad as those social workers and the rest of those employees at Fraser Health. Like, you know, you can't imagine, people, what I went through. So anyway, in 1990, you know, we did the enduring power of attorney, whatever, you know. It was something that the bank asked John to do, and John said, oh, you know, put her down, and blah, 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 and that's how I just kind of came about to be, right? It wasn't anything that John asked for. It was something that the bank asked for, right? Because he was blind, right, people? So I guess that's why they asked back in 1990. And so anyway, then when we moved over to the mainland, and you know, we were living in Delta, we moved over to the mainland in 94, and then by 2001, end of October, like 2001, towards the end of October, in 2001, the bank asked us to sign another one just to reconfirm that that's what Mr. Duncan wanted. So we did that. We did that at the request of the bank in Surrey in 2001. So there was two power of attorneys listed on that file with Uncle John, but they were mine from 1990 and 2001. Okay, but when he went missing, and I like tried to draw on that to prevent his sister from going into his account and trying to do what she did, right? Because that was the only trump card that Uncle John and I thought that we had, in terms of if they took him, you know, they couldn't access his account, and because they couldn't access his account, it wouldn't be as easy for them to medically kidnap him, basically, right? But because, you know, they lied, they accused me of elderly abuse, they weren't specific about it. In terms of the bank, you know, the bank said, oh, you've been accused with elderly abuse, but we're not going to tell you what kind. We're not going to tell you who did it. We're just going to tell you that it's been done. And therefore, we're freezing the account. You can access the bank statements. You can, you know, put money into the account, but you can't take out money. And the same thing applies for Andre's account, which was a subscription between John and myself. I can deposit money into Andre's account, but I can't take out money. I can get bank statements on Andre's account, but that's all I can do, people, because it requires John's signature. Even after all these years, there's nothing I can do about that. And that also applies with my daughter's trust account, which isn't very much. It's only $1,500 or something like that, like $1,500. And that was for post-secondary education. And, you know, and when Uncle John went missing, I stopped putting that $40 a month into that account because it just didn't have the money. But whatever, you know, it's like, that's on lockdown, can't do nothing with that. You know, it requires his signature or a judge's signature. So anyway, okay, so I've got these little 2 power attorneys listed on his account, and they kept throwing at me, oh, well, you know, we can't tell you nothing because it's in dispute. There's 2 power of attorneys. Okay. And because neither Mr. Duncan or Judy Chorney transferred their bank accounts out from their main branch located in Oak Bay, Victoria, BC, staff at Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce said they needed to reconfirm enduring power of attorney, there goes that light, flashing, to update their files at the branch, which was located in Surrey, BC. Neither Mr. John Duncan or Judy Chorney thought anything of it in October of 2001, and nor could they have foreseen Mr. Duncan disappearing on or about February 20th, 2015, because of other people wanting his money. It gets better, just wait. Number 54. On 2 separate occasions in the month of April of 2015, Judy Chorney tried to discuss what was happening to Mr. John Duncan's bank account with a senior manager by the name of Philip blah blah at CIBC Executive Client Relations, and she was told by him that blood was thicker than water and that accusations of elder abuse was directed towards her by a third-party person to whom Philip would not confirm on the first phone call who that person was. First time speaking on the phone with Philip, he told Judy Chorney that CIBC Bank had received a new application on March 26th of 2015 for power of attorney over Mr. John Duncan's bank account. Mr. Philip also went on to say that he was going to forward the file to the legal department so that the lawyers could figure it out before a final decision was to be made as to whether to continue to put a freeze on Mr. Duncan's bank account. Philip was very elusive, defensive, and refused to acknowledge what Judy Chorney was trying to tell him about what happened to Mr. John Duncan. Philip told Judy Chorney that now this is where it gets funky, people, okay? And I'm still in that funk, okay, with this convoluted bull crap that just brings in a lawless society, like literally. Philip told Judy Chorney that if she could provide a doctor's note from Mr. John Duncan's family doctor that he was competent, then the bank would reinstate power of attorney back to her, Judy Chorney. Mr. Philip insisted that Mr. Duncan be competent and not confused. 57. Again, Mr. Philip informed Judy Chorney that accusations of elder abuse was placed against her persons, but he refused to go into specifics as to what type of elder abuse, when and where, and he refused to tell Judy Chorney by whom those accusations were coming from. So are you listening to this, people? You have a bank account, you're in, whatever, doing whatever, right? And then somebody just comes along and accuses so-and-so, you or whatever, bank fraud, like elderly abuse or whatever, right? You're like in power of attorney with somebody, and it just takes somebody to accuse you of elderly abuse, and then before you know it, you're the laughing stock of the community. Okay? Because every time I went into that bank after that happened, people, my file was flagged. They kicked out John's bank card in terms of me having the bank card eventually a year later, because they didn't want me accessing his bank statements anymore, right? So after a year, they kicked out my personal bank card at the bank machine, so I'd have to, just kicked that out, so I'd have to go to the bank, right? Get a new card or get a new PIN. I think it was first a new PIN, went to the, left, thought everything was fine, went to go use my card, I couldn't use my card, had to go back again, right? They did something, they kicked out, but what they did is they kicked out John's card. Well, I went 3-4 times in a period of 2 weeks over that nonsense. And they did it on purpose. And they did it with mainly one teller. 3 cards later, same woman. And you could see them thinking, because, they were rude. Oftentimes they were rude to me, right? Because they judged me, they prosecuted me, they judged me, they found me guilty, and they prosecuted me based on the allegations of elderly abuse. So that his sister could steal his money, basically. And the bank was banking money through a registered savings plan that she set up for him on top of anything else that she did in the event that he inherited money and she didn't tell him about it until he was half dead. Like, it's important for the public to know that this shit goes on. This is another reason why I do these videos, right? So that, people are aware of the scandalous crap that professionals do against the most vulnerable in our society and then sit up there and expect to get paid for it. Upon the last phone call from Mr. Phillips on April 28th of 2015, Judy Chorney was told by him that Mr. Duncan's sister refuted everything that Judy Chorney tried to express to him about Mr. Duncan being medically kidnapped by Fraser Health and its staff. Phillips said that he spoke with the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce team of lawyers and proceeded to inform Judy Chorney that CIBC Bank was well within its right to do what it did regarding seizing Mr. John Duncan's bank account and dishonoring 25 years of enduring power of attorney that was on the bank file. Mr. Phillips also told Judy Chorney on the second phone call, now get this, that if she could get and this is why I'm reading this, okay? On the second phone call, that if she can get a doctor's note stating that Mr. John Duncan was confused. First it was competent, not confused, and now he's telling me I gotta go back to the doctors and go get one that says confused. Then he would reinstate the original enduring power of attorney. Mr. Phillip would not go into detail as to what the sister was saying about Judy Chorney. However, Mr. Phillip did tell Judy Chorney that he spoke on the phone with Mr. John Duncan and that Mr. Duncan said a doctor gave him a note saying that he was okay and wasn't confused. So, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce removed power of attorney from Judy Chorney and gave it to the sister based on a doctor's note. Are you listening to that, people? First, it's go get a doctor's note that says that he's incompetent. Then he gets off the phone, he goes talk to her, and then calls me back and says, oh, no, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say, go get a note from the doctor to say that he's not confused. As he's accusing me of elderly abuse, but he's not telling me what it was. And he's got his fucking bank employees stalking me through their terminals to kick out bank cards so I can't access John's bank account to see what's happening, to see if he's alive, right? To see something. They wouldn't give me a copy of the enduring power of attorney, the original copy. For over a year, they withheld it from me, people. Eventually, I came across a manager who was a good manager, who actually had sympathy on me. He was looking in the files. He couldn't believe what the fuck he was looking at. You could see his face change. And I'm like, what? What are you seeing there? He was the one who told me that Uncle John's credit card of $13,000 that only received a payment of $101,600 out of $13,000 just mysteriously disappeared in the month of October. Like Uncle John disappeared in February. Uncle John disappeared in February of 2015, had a credit card debt of $13,000, and then suddenly by October, mysteriously, the whole thing just disappeared. And I learned that from that nice one manager, the one nice manager who actually felt like he was being a criminal to go get me an original photocopy from the bank of the original enduring power of attorney. Because he knew something was wrong. So he gave me what I needed to give. Like, he gave me what I was asking. He gave me the original photocopy of the enduring power of attorney. But it took a whole fucking year to find one decent person out of that whole batch of employees. And not only did he do that for me, but he also gave me the information that from the get-go, that that $500 that this sister was putting in the bank, not for John, but for herself, after he's dead, right? She's just trying to make it look like she's responsible, was going into a Canadian registered savings plan. From the second month that she started tapping into his money, she cut a deal with the fucking bank. I found that out a year later. On top of, you know, his credit card debt just got wiped out, completely wiped out. So, there are some good people out there, people. Because if it wouldn't have been for that one bank manager, that enduring power of attorney that I gave that judge, as Fraser Health wants to sit up there and continue on with this bullshit, because that's basically what they're doing, people. They're continuing on with this fucking bullshit 3 years later, suggesting that I am now somehow sexually abusing Uncle John because the doctor said so, and had to release him and let him just wander out the fucking door with basically strangers to end up in an emergency and then not be held accountable to that? As I'm sitting here killing myself, trying to get the message out. It's bullshit, people. Total fucking bullshit. And before I upload this, you know, my middle daughter with the baby, right? There's a video she wants me to put up, and I'm like, oh, but I'm just like, you know, it's not that I don't want to put up the video with the baby and stuff. It's just, you know, it's all this negativity, right? You know, I don't want to put the baby in the middle of all this negativity with all these videos. Just kind of let me get past this stage first, you know, right? I mean, but the thing is, people, like, first of all, who has to live their life like this, being accused by random people in some fucking group hypnosis because they're all hyperventilating and fucking drooling over money, where the majority of them don't even get that money. It's just the thought of the money that makes them, you know, I don't know, just makes them into fucking monsters or something, because this is all being driven by money, people. Seriously, if Uncle John did not have money or a family, he'd be out on the streets. The only thing is, he had a family, so he'd be home with us, without money, right? But, like, I just, like, do I have to live the rest of my life being accused of things by various groups of people within the healthcare system, within the banking system, because for some reason they feel that they gotta protect criminal activity for the purpose of gaining blood money? Because this money is made on blood. And I don't mean blood as in family relation. I mean blood as in, you know, you stabbing somebody and you're killing the fucking shit out of them just to get their fucking money. Like, seriously. Right? And to be mistreated because of that. What gives these people the right to mistreat me like this and sit up there and either say it to my face or say it on the phone? Well, you know, you've been accused of this, and, you know, it's been suggested this, and you know, like, you know what I mean? I had to walk through those fucking halls at Yale Road Center with those fucking crazy bitches, you know, starting with their accusations, and then it spilled over into the bank, and now it's in the fucking courthouse? Like, when is it gonna end? And it's not just simply drop it. Because if you think that you drop it, that it ends, it doesn't fucking end then. No, it's almost like you admit to it if you drop it. Right? So, like, fuck that shit. No way, man. I gave Uncle John the best years of my life. I looked after him good, people. All right. And I'll be damned if these people are going to run my children and my great-grandchildren through the mud so that they can live on the high horse. But I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, for every stab that Fraser Health with their lawyers throw at me in this fucking court system is just a reminder of the bullshit that started in their hallways with their social workers and the team. Oh yeah, I forgot. The reason I turned it back on was because as I'm writing this, and then, you know, of course, I'll forward it to CIBC Bank at some point in the near future, right? You know, they're going to come back and they're going to do the same fucking thing that Fraser Health did. Oh, you know, she's still being prolific. She's still not making any sense. She's incoherent. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, it's just a bunch of blah, blah, blah nonsense. She's not specific about the allegations. You know, she doesn't know what the action is. You know, she doesn't even know where the freaking cause is. You know, dismiss it, throw it out of court because she's just a nutball that doesn't deserve to be heard. Do you see it coming, people? I mean, if they're sitting up there on the phone through their client relation accusing me of elderly abuse, but they're not telling me what the fuck it is, and they're telling me to go get a doctor's note saying that John's confused, and then the next week telling me to go get a doctor's note to say that he's not, right? But you're still being accused of elderly abuse, as there's 2 power of attorneys on file, when in fact that wasn't fucking true. Right? Nobody's taken me to court yet, people. To take me off that file, never mind put their asses on it. But can you hear them now? Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just some hick hillbilly, you know, that thinks she's a farmer. So since she seems to think she's such a farmer, we might as well treat her like dirt. Can you hear it? I can hear it. I see it coming. Because I'm poor, people. That's what it is. I'm poor. I'm vulnerable. I'm meek. Right? In terms of, you know, I'm a woman. Right? It's not like I got a big backup team behind me. You know? Certainly don't got no fucking money. You know? They're not going to want to admit to their wrongs any more than Fraser Health. Right? Is staring at them right in their fucking face. And they'll still lie to the judge, and the judge will swallow it. Because the judge himself or herself, doesn't want the challenge. Doesn't want to rock the boat. Doesn't want to maybe be targeted. Huh? Because you have to remember, Uncle John was just the tip of the iceberg. Just remember that, people. Okay, he's the one that's just showing just the tip of the iceberg of what's underneath the iceberg. In terms of those house sales, as those old people are going into the system and they're being detained and they're not being allowed to go home, because if they don't go home, their houses go up for sale. Okay, and it stimulates the economy. Right? All those realtors get to make a whole lot of fucking money. Especially if they're bringing in those rich immigrants that don't give a shit about Canadians to buy up all the property and then force the poor out onto the streets and criminalize us as they're criminalizing us in the hospitals, as they're criminalizing us in the fucking banking system. Right? To rape, pillage, and protect the elderly. Okay, you tell me, is this a cause, an action? Because they play dumb, and we don't know what she's saying. She just talks baby gibberish, goo goo gaga, remember? The plaintiff believes that Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce took a bribe from so-and-so well in advance of Mr. Duncan's disappearance on February 20th, 2015. On or about February 20th, 2015. Being that so-and-so had put a legal mail transfer through Canada Post on February 4th of 2015 for Mr. Duncan's mail to be delivered while Mr. Duncan was still in Fraser Health Detainment. I mean, how more blatant can you say it? I honestly do believe the bank took a bribe, people. I do.